Okay, yeah. $99. I get it. That's a lot for a stylus. Very expensive. I know. You don't have to comment. It's too expensive. I get it. Okay, it's expensive. I've said this before. I will say it again. I'm saying it now. Apple never fails us when it comes to being pricey. If the reason you think the Apple Pencil sucks is because of its price, then just leave the video now. I don't need your hate comments. I want other people's hate comments. Now, we've got all that out of the way. This is the best stylus you can buy. I've never had an interest in owning a stylus. People gave them to me as gifts for years, and I've had an iPhone and an iPad for a long time. Never liked it, never got the hang of it. I stand by Steve Jobs' quote.
No. No. Who wants a stylus?
I agree. Steve Jobs said that back when he released the original iPhone. So is it hypocritical for Apple to now make a stylus after Steve Jobs had previously stated they had no interest in having one? Yes, very. But that's what happens when your CEO and founder dies and you get a new CEO that sees the world differently. Apple's a company. Apple is not Steve Jobs. Get past it. Now keep in mind, this stylus only works with the iPad Pro. It doesn't work with the lower end iPads. It doesn't work with an iPhone. And it even does not work with the Apple Watch. Yeah, I've tried a lot. So you can put it in this, and like stab people with it. Yeah, it's creepy. But it also works on physical keyboards. It does, I mean, come on. Now the fact that it's an exclusive to the iPad Pro to me makes it feel more like it's staying true to Steve Jobs' vision. The iPad Pro is professional, it's supposed to be for pro users. So when I tried out the Apple Pencil in an Apple store, I wasn't drawing with it, even though it's great for that. I went straight to iMovie because I edit tons of my own films. And this thing helped out immensely with being specific on the screen and being precise with trimming and cutting and tapping things. Now with the finger, and even with most styluses now, you get this rubber flappy kind of stub that's not very specific on the screen because, you know, it molds around, and when you lift up, sometimes things get moved around a lot. But with this stylus, you have a solid tip that doesn't move at all, and it's got the thickness and the longness of a pencil, a real pencil, that allows you to edit things precisely. So the point yeah, I know, I had to say it. The point is, when you're using iOS on an iPad Pro, there's lots of things going on when you have this amount of real estate. And with the Apple Pencil, you can be specific about how you use those pixels since there are so many available to you. Having a stylus for the iPad Pro makes sense to me, and not having it for the others, I can understand because their screens are smaller. You don't need to be as specific. But on things like a MacBook, you have a mouse and you can get really precise increments. But since we don't have the mouse on the iPad Pro, this is a great replacement for that, for making those pinpoint taps on the screen. Now, okay, editing video with it is awesome. It improves the iMovie experience, and my other filmmaker friends who tried out the Apple Pencil on the iPad Pro all agreed it helps immensely. Editing is so much easier with it. But a lot of you out there aren't filmmakers. I understand that. Not everyone is cool. It's great for lots of other things, including taking notes. Now, I go to college, and at college, you do take a lot of lecture notes, and not just typing kind. For me, I'm taking math classes, and in that case, you have to draw lots of diagrams, bar graphs, charts, and this becomes extremely helpful. I have never used the Notes app so much in my life, because I can draw borders around things, I can get specific, and maybe in class, if your teacher doesn't think that typing on a laptop is very trustworthy, laying down the iPad Pro and writing things out like you would on a piece of scrap paper is more understandable, and she knows you're doing what you're supposed to. I also love the iPad Pro because it doesn't register when your palm is resting on it, so you can still write much like a regular piece of paper. You don't have to hover the stylus over it like you do on many other tablets. So I love that whole system because while you get to be precise with drawing numbers and graphs and charts, you also have a keyboard available to you when you need to type out a bunch of things. And it's really easy to switch back and forth within that Notes app. Or even if you have a worksheet that she handed out, you can take a picture of it and add it into the notes. Wow, it's so cool. In fact, I was starting to not catch much of the information in my classes because I was so interested in the note-taking capabilities. Yeah, but that's... You're not interested in that. Back to you, drawing. Now, I'm not an artist, and most of us aren't, but listen, there's something called the wow factor, and it's just kind of a playful attitude to be able to show people how precise and how amazing it is to draw on the iPad Pro, especially with a program called Adobe Sketch, which allows you to make beautiful artwork, none of which I have made, but it's fun to play around with. It's also amazing because the iPad Pro's screen is about the exact same size of a regular piece of paper, so you couldn't really draw like you could on a regular iPad Air because it was about half the size. So this opens up tons of opportunity and allows you to make really cool drawings if you're good at it, and if you're not, it's still just fun. Okay, and hey, I'll address this because I know everyone's gonna say it. I get that you don't like the charging method with the iPad Pro because it's gonna stick out and that's dangerous, and I agree, that's not the best way to charge it. But you know what? I am glad there is a way to charge it with the device itself. Imagine if they didn't do it that way, and instead of putting a male end, they put a female end, and you had to find a wall outlet every time you wanted to charge this thing. That would be much worse and annoying, especially if you're on trips and you're not near walls. But let me tell you, I charge it the stupid way, or whatever you want to call it, and I've never once faced a scenario where I was like, oh crap, oh no, watch out. Typically, wherever it is or wherever you're using it, people shouldn't be sitting down or moving their hands around that close to the tablet anyway. For the most part, I plug it in, flip it upside down, and the iPad does look a bit like a unicorn, but it's not like that for very long. You get 30 minutes of battery life with this thing after 15 seconds of charging. So don't worry about it dying on you. And for those awkward charge moments, they're short. It takes about 15 minutes to charge the Pencil 0 to 100%, and once it's at 100%, it can last well over 2 days. So don't worry much about charging, it's not a big deal. And if worse comes to worse, you don't want to charge it the stupid way with the iPad, guess what? The Apple Pencil comes with a lightning adapter that lets you plug it into any lightning port, just like you would charge a phone or a tablet, and then no one has to get hurt. It's great. In conclusion, to no surprise, Apple's first stylus was very expensive. But I gotta say, you get what you pay for. A precise, firm, easy to use stylus that works great with the iPad Pro, and only the iPad Pro, for fun, for productivity, and for simple wow factor. This is your Apple Sheep here, and I will see you in the next one.